Michael, you're live on the
Hey,
air. Go right ahead with your question.
hi, Rabbi. This is Michael Yeoman. I'm calling from Vallejo, California, and I've been a longtime fan of you and William. And I appreciate the work that you do, and it gives me a lot of strength in dealing with missionaries that I come across on Facebook and in other places. My question is not necessarily for myself, because I believe I've heard you talk about this before. It's not necessarily about Christianity so much, but I have heard, and a caller who called before recently alluded to it, is the Islamic view of Jesus. Do you have any thoughts on that you'd like to explain?
That's a great question, actually. I'm kind of curious myself.
So this is very intriguing. Bear in mind that Abrahamic religions use the same words, and that's understandable. That's intuitive. However, what's not intuitive is that although we're using the same words, we mean something very, very different. Although Christians use the word Messiah or Christ a lot, that's not the language of Islam. The language of Israel really is Mashiach. And although Muslims believe that Jesus, Isa, who they would call him, is the Messiah, they don't mean it in the same way that Christians do at all, or not really what Jews do either at all. And let me be very clear about this. Muslims do not believe that Jesus was divine in any way. Not only don't they believe that, they oppose it, they abhor it. And in fact, the Quran very explicitly condemns the idea, the notion that Jesus was the Son of God or anything like that. In fact, it very explicitly states that. And the Quran explicitly attacks the doctrine of the Trinity and attacks Christians for believing in a shirk. Now you're asking yourself, well, what does a shirk mean? Well, it's an Arabic word, and it means a partnership. In Islam, the only sin for which there is no forgiveness is believing that God has a partner, which is exactly what the doctrine of the Trinity is. So in Islamic thought, now, partnership in Judaism is also the mother lode of bad ideas. That means you believe in the true God. All Christians, after all, believe in the Father. The Father is the creator of all. But they believe that there's another person or two persons, weird word, and I don't want to get into what that means, but it means that they have unique features, that they're different. Jesus is different than the Father. He's the Son, he's the Word, and that's and these are hypostatic entities. I know I'm using unconventional language, and I just want to warn you, and I'm sort of sneaking this in, that when Christians use the word persons, you have to press them, I want to know what you mean, and they usually don't. Okay, let's get back to your question. So they believe that Jesus was a prophet, no more. He was the highest type of prophet called a Rasul. What that means is that he left a Sharia. Sharia means a message, meaning that there was some message he had, some writing that no longer survives. There are Muslims who think, and I disagree with them, I don't like when they do this, but there are Muslims who think that, you could take the New Testament and sort of shake it and find some passages that that their version of Jesus could have said and say, that may be authentic. I don't know. I don't like that they do that because the Christian Bible, in their view, is completely heretical. Teaches that Jesus was crucified, which the Quran explicitly says it wasn't crucified. Jesus wasn't crucified. It attacks that completely in one passage, Surah 4, verse 157. And the New Testament is full of Pauline teachings with the exception of Luke Acts. So I think that Muslims should not do this, but I'm not the spokesperson for Islam. I should be, but I'm not. I'm kidding. So they believe that Jesus was not divine at all. They believe that he did not die. He was not killed. It's an unusual passage, but the passage says that it seemed like he died, but he did not die. Rather, Muslims believe that Jesus ascended, and that at the end of days, in their eschatology, he's going to return and he's going to rule for 40 years. He didn't have a wife and kids, but he's going to accomplish that feat in his second coming. During those 40 years, he's going to have a wife, he's going to have kids, and then he's going to die. And in fact, in Medina, next to Muhammad's grave, there's an empty grave waiting for him to be buried there. So their view is he's not divine, he was rather a prophet, a messenger, and his message essentially was that the Jews should keep the Torah. Where it gets naughty is Muslims are not stupid. They believe that Jesus was born to a virgin. Okay? They believe that his mother, Miriam, was a virgin, but they do not believe that Jesus was born, or Isa was born to Miriam because of a passage in Isaiah 7. They know that Isaiah 7:14 has nothing to do with the virgin. They know that Matthew made it up. They're not dumb. So they believe it on faith because they believe in the Quran, and the Quran for a Muslim is their chief source. So therefore is a problem. Therefore it's tricky for them because they therefore cannot accept that Isa, that Jesus, was from the house of David, because they understand that if he's from the house of David, then he has to have a daddy who's from the house of David. And Islam is very patriarchal. So Muslims, I can't say every Muslim on the planet, but Muslims do not believe he's from the house of David at all. So this is why I warned you at the beginning of this that we're using the same words, but we mean something really different. The consensus of Muslim scholarship is that he was kind of a priestly Messiah. And therefore, and as it turns out, even though they don't say he was a Kohen, but the word Mashiach, which appears 39 times in Tanakh, appears more frequently in the book of Leviticus than it does in any other book in the Torah. Okay? So now I will say this, in my experience, I think I live in a Muslim country quite a long time. Many Muslims would not know what I've just shared with you because this is like a more scholarly area. So Muslims believe that Jesus came to tell the Jews to keep the Torah. He just didn't die. He ascended. He's going to return, live for 40 years, have a wife and kids, and then die. So it's very, very different. But the key is it's not idolatry. They don't. This really bothers Muslims if you want to offend a Muslim, tell them, "Oh, you worship Jesus." They will go nuts. They will really be put off by that. To them, they can't stand that, and they'll immediately shut you down. So Islam is very different. Be very careful. We're talking about Christianity. Different Abrahamic religions, which are Saimich, which rely on Judaism, but ultimately they're using different terms, and they mean something. Something else is packed into it. Thank you for your question. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל